Welcome back. Welcome to our second lesson. In this lesson, we are going to be covering a little bit more the subjects and concepts that we cover in our first lesson, and a little bit more. Now we're gonna get a little bit more serious in what we are going to actually study. Okay. So in the last lesson, the first lesson, we talked about a will to receive, a will to bestow, and our intention, right? So let's look at this. So this is something that probably you guys are already familiar with. This time I organize it, better, so you guys can have an idea of how this relationship, as you might call it, between our desires and the desire of creation or creator, it's all about. So we talk that we have ourselves a desire to receive. We are pure desire to receive. We're egoistical creatures by nature, right? Understand, this is when we start learning some of the vocabulary from Kabbalah. Understand that this is actually the vessel, the creature, which is called in Hebrew a kli, a vessel, right? Kli is actually vessel in Hebrew, creature. And we're going to talk about the kli, the vessel, as a creature that was created by the creator, and that which the creator wants to bestow this light, wants to give it, right? So we're will to receive, we're a vessel, we're a creature. However, our vessel, as we covered in our first lesson, is not ready to receive the light of the creator in an altruistic way, or using an altruistic way, meaning we want it all, we wanted to receive it. And that creates an issue. That creates an issue because what it does is it creates something called pain. It creates pressure from the light of the creator. And that light has a name. It's called the or makif, which is the surrounding light, and that surrounding light makes creates pressure in the vessel in order to make it correct. And one thing that is very important to understand is that it's not the creator forcing anything in here. It's not the creator punishing the vessel because the vessel doesn't want to correct. This is a system. This is a system if I say a system that has its laws, its way of working, and nothing is gonna go to waste. What the creator has created, whatever has broken from that creation, has to go back to its original position in holiness. So this is what's happening. If the vessel breaks, breaks the law by not following what the system wants it to do, the system will actually continue working, but the vessel will perceive it as if it is creating pain because it's working against the system. When the vessel works against the system, it feels like it is suffering. So that's something that is important to understand. So how the vessels start working in order to eliminate this suffering? It creates a screen. Know that the Hebrew word for screen is masach in this case, and masach is actually a screen that will actually accept the light of the creator, but instead of having it all because I want it, all, and I wanted to use it for my own sake, I will receive it. It will come to me, but I will have an intention, and that intention is going to change. That intention is going to be, I will receive in order to give back to the Creator. What I'm going to receive is this pleasure. It's a spiritual pleasure, that the Creator is giving me. And by receiving this pleasure, I'm giving pleasure to the Creator. And I know you guys are going to probably think that the Creator really needs pleasure. Remember what I said in lesson 1. The words that we use to describe certain concepts in Kabbalah doesn't necessarily mean what it means in human feelings. We feel pleasure. Pleasure for us is something that makes us feel good, makes our dopamine in our brain, crazy or anything like that, to make us feel good, so we don't feel I would say sad or depressed or anything like that. Put that in that concept into this concept, even though they're not the same, they're kind of like, because in spirituality things work in certain way, but they reflect in physical reality. So whatever is happening here within myself is happening somehow in spirituality, but in a higher level. So when we say depression, pleasure, and all these words, we're using physical reality words in order to describe these concepts from a higher realm. And like I mentioned before in lesson 1, the word sin doesn't necessarily mean, the sin description that we have in our religious, study or religious background. Sin, as we will understand later as we study the book of Bereshit in depth, after we go through all these concepts and everything, we'll see that sin actually wasn't a sin. It was, Adam was destined to do that anyway. So we'll see. Anyway, let's go back to the concept here of will to bestow, will to receive, an intention. So I receive, I have a screen. That screen is an intention. That intention is receive in order to bestow. I receive in order to give pleasure to the Creator. Not pleasure to me. If I'm doing this in order to satisfy my desire, it's already, even though it is a good action, even though I'm receiving it, it is all because I want to satisfy my desire to feel good, to feel better. But guess what? That desire, poof, is gonna go away. I'm gonna have another egoistic desire and another egoistic desire. However, there's a desire that will grow and grow and grow and will never go away. And that's a desire actually that desire for spirituality, desire for correction. And that's when we start working in this system. And this is a real relationship with God. We will talk later in other lessons more in depth about this relationship. There's some concepts in Judaism about Torah and mitzvot. Torah meaning in religious term, the book of Moses, and mitzvot, the commandments, which are 613 commandments. But for a Kabbalist, Torah is the light. The light. The mitzvot are, as the Zohar says, counselors. The mitzvot are these corrections that I need to do. But what are these 613 counselors? As they're positives and negative, commandments. These mitzvot or commandments are there, and especially in Judaism we have these laws, 613 laws, is to remind me of what kind of correction I need to do in order to achieve a spiritual goal. So if it tells me to eat kosher, it's for a reason. Physically, I'm eating certain kinds of food that is considered kosher according to the 613 laws. Certain animals I can eat, certain animals I cannot eat, certain foods I can eat, certain foods I cannot eat. If it comes from, there's this laws, rabbinical laws about if the wine comes from a Gentile or if the wine, comes from a Jew, how you treat that type of wine. Is it can be used for Shabbat, can be used for this and that. All those laws, physically create a burden for the person trying to practice, because I have to do this and that. But imagine that person that is trying to do these commandments for religious reasons. If this person changed the intention, does it for the sake of the Creator, not for the sake of just fulfilling this commandment because religion tells me so. It does it for the sake of the Creator, for the sake of spirituality. That commandment start becoming not a burden, but a pleasure. So it is the same thing with our actions, altruistic actions. If we do it for the sake of the Creator, it will change our way of seeing, perceiving the pleasure of the action. Not for the sake of me, but the sake of the Creator. But there's a whole process in order for me to actually go through that change. And that process, is called a relationship with the Creator. We have to change our relationship with the Creator. We cannot be egoistic, just for me. We have to make sure that we adhere to a law. And this law is the law of receive the light in order to bestow. That's how it is. We cannot be ruled by this law, the desire to receive, egoistic nature. This law, like I mentioned in lesson 1, when we do good actions that we think they're good, we end up mixing good and evil. Good and evil. But if we change our intention, we have the proper relationship between the will to receive and the will to bestow. We divide those two. We work with the vessels that are proper, which are the will to bestow. And these vessels are going to help us achieve spiritual level of the action that we're doing, instead of having just a action that, even though it looks good, it becomes an egoistic action, because I just do it because I want to feel good about myself, not because I want to do it for the sake of the Creator. So we have to make sure, that we have ourselves in check, that we look at this system and this relationship with God. It's a proper relationship with God. Some people, think that the Creator is something that, or is a system, or is, some people just don't believe at all, but some people think that this system that we have, this relationship that we have with God, is a relationship in which I'm here, I pray, and God will give me. I'm here, I'm suffering, and God will console me. And it's true. And we're going to touch base on that, later, when we're going to be talking about the path of pain and the path of the Kab, the light. And it's true. The Creator is there to comfort you. The Creator is there. But you have to have the proper prayer. And the prayer that Kabbalah actually talks about is not the same prayer that we knew when we were in religion. In religion they tell you, you pray to God and God will give you the desires of your heart. Remember the word heart. The word heart means desires, equal desire. And heart also means, the vessel, the ego. Right? So we have to think about something. We have to think about how we're gonna better this relationship. So we have to make sure this relationship is proper, and it's all with intention. Intention. Just to give you an intention of an improper relationship with the Creator. I know a lot of people, probably like me, they have actually returned to Judaism because they are descendants of Anusim Jews, and in the past, they have these ancestors who were forced to convert to Christianity, and eventually their descendants, those of us that find ourselves, in today's messianic or pre-messianic age, I would say it's messianic. Things are happening so fast, that it's making you think that things are gonna be better. The thing is, we come back, right? And this whole process is a spiritual process. Kabbalah talks about that. Remember, the soul of Adam broke into pieces and fell down into this world. In this world, there was this people, probably the most egoistic people that we have in the world, the Bnei Israel, that became a nation. After they became a nation, they also broke. Today we have the Jews who actually religiously, still keeping the Torah, and they still guard, the written Torah. They're the ones that are still guardians of the Kabbalah and all that. But there's something happening. By the good actions of certain people that are studying Kabbalah, and sometimes they don't even have to study Kabbalah. All they have to do is just have the proper relationship that we mentioned. Sometimes they don't have to be studying Kabbalah at all. It's in them, because they have already evolved spiritually, whether it is in this life or another life. They bring that already, and they know how to have this relationship with the Creator, that as they raise themselves towards spirituality, they're raising us. They're raising people like us out of the clipotic, the clipots, the clipotic vessels. We're these little sparks that are being released thanks to them. However, among those groups, there's also the people that don't like that, because they see everything religiously. They want the pure religion, and the religious have to be pure and everything. How are you gonna find that? And I want to make sure that you divide religion from Kabbalah. We're not talking about those religious things. When you're talking about the religious Judaism, even Christianity, as well, we're talking about social, cultural, and in the case of the Jews, social, cultural, and also national subjects. They have nothing to do with spirituality. Spirituality actually, I would say, influences what's happening, but they're not influencing spirituality. Okay? They think they're under control, the religious people, but they're not. Only the Creator is under control. There's a plan, and we can scream, shout, and say that this is not the proper way, because this is the way an ancient, rabbi said that it's supposed to be, but God changes everything. To this day, we have some rabbis that will tell you, you shouldn't study Kabbalah. I have those type of rabbis, telling me the same thing, but I never got discouraged. There were more people telling me you should than people saying you shouldn't. And something inside you will tell you, what's the path you need to take. Follow that and see what happens. Okay? The people that will tell you not, for you not to study Kabbalah, sometimes they do it in an egoistic way. You're not probably Jewish according to their criteria, so you shouldn't study Kabbalah. And I found that it's really wrong. I found other rabbis, say, no, you should. It is important, especially people, like the B'nai Anusim, especially people like non-religious Jews, especially people that we call the nations, should study Kabbalah. It's the only way that we will bring the Messiah, or the Messianic age into reality. So what we have is the following. You will find yourself studying Kabbalah and a lot of opposition. It's going to be natural. Don't worry about it. And that opposition is not going to be other people. You will find people telling you not to study. That's people. They go crazy when they study that. Or like I remember one rabbi told me he doesn't believe in Kabbalah. I asked him, about, hey, what do you think about Kabbalah and the Zohar? And the answer was the following. It's a nice commentary. Don't you think, that's kind of like not only a commentary, but something that can help us, give more meaning to the things that we do in Judaism and everything. And it didn't have any meaning for him. And then I understood why. Some people that have the title of rabbi, they don't have the time to study Kabbalah. They are so busy with administration of synagogue and activities here and there. They don't have time for that. They just do what they're supposed to do in the synagogue, which is take care of organizing, the activities for Shabbat, for Bar Mitzvah, things like that. That they don't have really the time, so they don't understand it. There are others that dedicate their life to the study of Kabbalah, and some of them, use Kabbalah to have these excuses, in order not to admit people to Judaism. And one example is going to be the following. When they tell you you're not Jewish because your mother is not Jewish. Where in the Torah says that your mother needs to be Jewish? The Torah talks about Israel, it doesn't talk about the Jewish people. And the other thing is, through the Kabbalah understanding, you will understand that it's really not that. It's talking about spiritual terms. But they have actually taken those spiritual terms and they have made certain criteria for people to join, Judaism, or join the people of the Jews, because Israel is much more than that. And as a Kabbalist, we understand that when he says that your mother should be Jewish in order, for you to be a Jew, has nothing to do with physicality, it has to do with spirituality. You have to be able to correct your egoistic desires, which we call the nations, and connect your Malchut to what we call Binah, which we're going to talk about that in some lessons down the road. And that's the real meaning of that. So that's why we want to separate religion from Kabbalah, so we can study what spirituality is, and religion, that will be some subject that you can study with a rabbi, on your own. You don't need a rabbi. There's plenty of resources, for religion, whether you're a Jew, Christian, you choose, what type of religion you want to follow. Something very interesting is that I found is that most of the people that are interested in Kabbalah are not really Jewish. They're not really Jewish. The people that have actually inspired me to do this type of lessons, most of them are not Jewish. Some of them want to follow certain laws, Noahide laws, but they don't want to, convert or anything like that. But they even have some problems with the Noahide laws that they have found, as they study. we may talk about the Noahide laws, in Kabbalah, but that's also religion. The Noahide movement is kind of like a religion as well. It falls into the religious mindset. It's another set of law or criteria in order to stop certain people from the nations to join these people, which stops, some of the goals of the spiritual development of humanity as a whole. But changing the subject, not completely, but changing the subject. Religion, as we know it, is egoistic. Religion is like a package. It's a clifford. It contains everything within it. Nothing can get in, and if something gets out, they want to get it back in because it's ours. It's us only. That's where the contradiction between especially Judaism and Kabbalah comes. Because within Judaism you're going to find Kabbalah saying this is for everybody, but Judaism keeps it it's ours. This is a Jewish spirituality stuff. It's not for the nations. The nations will not understand it because of the Jewish flavor that is in this. However, when you go to some not so far back, talking about 100 years or less, I think, you're gonna find people like Baal HaSulam, which the picture you have right here is Baal HaSulam. I got great respect for his writings, and the reason, I know Kabbalah is because of the hard work he did in so many years ago, and the hard work that his disciples and the disciples of his disciples did in order for people like me to know Kabbalah today. People like Baal HaSulam, people like Rav Kook, and you should know, Rav Kook. Look it up on the internet. It's a lot of material on the internet that it's beautiful. The things that he said. They were asked, who should study Kabbalah? And the answer for that question was everyone. Everyone. Not just the Jews. Everyone. So, why? We are what is called the last generation before the Messianic age. We're the ones that need to open that door. We're the ones that need to start changing our egoistic desires. Other crises are happening in the world. We have financial crisis. We have a pandemic. As I'm talking in this video, there's a pandemic happening. We're stuck in our houses, and if you, like me, is from work to the house and the store, don't even think about it. You got a plan because you're gonna have to wait a long time before you get in, things like that. These are crises that are happening for a reason. It's all the cause of our own egoism. It's nature talking to us, telling us, start changing, behave. Remember what I said, when I talk about how the light of the Creator puts pressure against that vessel? That's exactly what the crisis is all about. Crisis is the pressure of the light that wants to come in. It makes it feel pain. It makes it feel all that. So, like I was mentioning, Kabbalah will give you the tools, will give you the technology for you to advance spiritually, but you have to work hard on it. A lot of people in the past, I mentioned Baal HaSulam, I mentioned Rav Kook, I mentioned, and I'm gonna mention in the future, other Ravs, that have actually sacrificed a lot of their lives in order to make sure that this wisdom gets spread to the masses. And the writings, when they get translated, you're gonna see, that it's not exactly what this person was saying. A friend of mine was saying, I found out that every time the Rav wrote in this book Israel, it was translated Jewish people, and things like that. So you need to understand that. That's the reason you also need to know a little bit of Hebrew. So if you want to start looking and learning the Hebrew letters, and then try to learn how to read the Hebrew, because that's going to help you a lot, understanding these little changes that have been done by religion in order to keep some people far away and not going into the purity of religion, which is, a cliphotic force that we need to fight. Not really. We don't fight in spirituality. Nothing can be coerced. Everything has to be influenced. But that's something that we need to take think about. So we talk about the relationship that we need to have with the Creator. All right. So we talk about this relationship. The perfect relationship with the Creator is basically, I receive the light, not for myself, but for the sake of the Creator. I'll do it in order to satisfy the Creator. This can only be done by one law. And this law is very familiar for a lot of people. Let me write it, All of a sudden, I cannot write. There you go. Love your friend as yourself. That's the law. That's the only law that you need to follow. Love your friend as yourself. That's what Kabbalah is all about, believe it or not. The Torah, Rabbi Akiva, Hillel, and many other rabbis, they're being asked, what is the Torah all about? What is this all about? And they say it's just about love your friend, your neighbor as yourself. Why is that? Because we broke. We're part of the same soul. When I hate my neighbor, my friend, when I envy him, when I do all this bad stuff to them, I'm doing it to myself. I'm doing it to my soul. I'm doing it to myself. So this is the whole law right here. That's the law of loving your friend as yourself. By doing this, we do something very interesting. I say we, not me, not I, we together, when we love each other as ourselves and we're together as one, we basically manifest the Creator. So if you want to see the Creator, if you want other people to see the Creator, that will be through the love that you have for your friends. You gotta love them as you love yourself. Once you do that, that's equal to loving God above everything, with all your heart, with all your soul. Those of us that do the Shema in the morning and at night, and we do our prayers, we say that. You shall love your God with all your heart, with all your might, with all your soul. How you do that? By loving your neighbor, your friend. If I don't do that, then this relationship here has no meaning at all. That means I'm still in this level of receiving. If I don't love the person that comes to me that wants to learn, and I have criteria for this person in order to be with me and learn from me, I'm at this level. In my mind, I may have a relationship, but I have a relationship just like this system, same system, but instead of the creator, you know what I'm doing? I'm replacing the creator for an idol. The creator, instead of being the light coming to me, what I'm making of the relationship that I think that I have with the creator is an idol. That's real idol worship. I'm worshiping my ego. I'm worshiping myself because I am different than you. I have an elite status in spirituality or in religion. So this is not working for you. This relationship, the same relationship that we have here, is happening down here. That's real idol worship. You're worshiping an idol. You're worshiping your ego. So think about that, okay? Let's talk about how we got here. How our egoistic desire, got to this point. Let's see if I can lower all this so it can be seen. Okay, there you go. Okay, that looks better. So there's something called the Ein Sof. We're gonna know more about the Ein Sof in the future, as when we talk about more about the development of the desire, different phases of development of desire. So one thing, that you're gonna be, it's like we're already like skipping ahead. We're already talking about some words in here that you probably heard because you read a book about Kabbalah. Probably you never heard. Like Ein Sof, Adam Kadmon, Atzilu Bria Yetzirah Asiyah, Olam Haseh, Machson. They might sound already, like too advanced for you, but in reality, you're gonna see that this is easy. This is basics, and when you understand it, you're gonna understand what it is all about. So the first thing is the word of infinity, Ein Sof. Ein Sof. Ein Sof means the infinite nothing, okay? The infinite nothing. This infinite nothing is what we call the Torah, right? The light of Torah. Also, you can call it the creator. The creator for everything that is going to come after it, right? So the Ein Sof, that's the little line right here. That's Ein Sof, okay? When we say, that in Kabbalah we see the spiritual world as a ladder, we're taking that symbolism from the ladder of Jacob, when Jacob has this dream in which he saw angels going up and down a ladder, and in what he saw was basically, a vision of what in Kabbalah is described as the different worlds or realms in the spiritual realms. The thing is that this light comes down to this world, right? And in the beginning, and this is something that we're gonna learn in the future, and so just to give you a preview of what's coming. In the beginning, we have that basically Adam was like around here, okay? When he was created in the book of Bereshit, He was created like around here. When he sinned, what happened was he fell down to the lowest part, of Asia. And with him, all the worlds, except Adam Kadmon, of course, but all the worlds, they also fell, from their degree. So when we say the fall of Adam, what we're talking about is a descent towards a lower realm, in which in that lower realm the light cannot reach. So in order for Adam, in this case Adam is us, right? For Adam to rise back up, to go back up, he needs to go to certain stages. Just like he fell, and when we study the book of Bereshit through the eyes of Kabbalah and the book of Zohar, we're going to see that it's through different stages that he actually fell down, and he reached what is called the Olam Haseh, which is the stage that we're right now, and now, it's our job to make sure that we raised the soul of Adam back to its original state, which is called be similar to the Creator, not equal, but similar. And that was the problem, trying to be equal, right? So this is what happened. So we fell down something that is called the barrier in Hebrew, in Kabbalah we use the Hebrew machson. And now we're in darkness. We're in this world in which this light doesn't descend, or we don't perceive it. We are in a state of occultation. In fact, the word for world in Hebrew is olam, and olam actually means occultation. So each world receives less and less light. It's like a filter over a filter over a filter over a filter over a filter, and at the end, all that you receive here is a little glimpse of light. Some people perceive it, other people don't perceive it. It depends, on your development. It depends, where you at when it comes to the development of your own vessel and the perception of your own reality. So this is what's happening. We're down here, and in here we need to go through a process. And this process is very, very, I would say, not hard. It is hard, but I would say it's very complex. Very complex. And that's the reason, Kabbalah explained these complex ideas. So you have a manual of how to use this technology to advance. But the first thing you need to understand is that there's this word for Adam Kadmon, pure light from the Creator, right? There's a world of correction. And what is called Atzilut, the world of correction, it is the world of correction because somewhere in here something happened, and we will study that is called the breaking of the vessel, in which the good and evil vessels mixed. And we're going to study that when we talk about the root of evil. This world here came in order to fix that world of chaos, and this is a world of order. And this world of order was actually created for, I would say, a human being, but it's actually, a creation, a creature that will live around this area here. And that's Adam Harishon, the first Adam. Then Adam Harishon did something that is similar to what happened up there with the breaking of the vessel. His soul breaks and falls down as well. So the same process that happened, we need to also create our own absolute, our own correction, you know. And that only happened through different stages that we have down here as well. So we descended, the Kabbalah tells us, 125 steps. And you say, where the 125 steps, come from? You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 worlds, right? And in each world, you're gonna find Adan Katmon, Atzilut, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. The same thing in all of them. So you're gonna find the 5 levels that we have here in each of them. So that's 5 levels. These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 5 inner levels, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for each of these. And inside those 5, there's also 5 more. Okay? So what you're gonna see is that you're gonna end up with 125 steps of the ladder going down, and 125 steps also going up. Okay? Have that in mind, because it's going to come up a lot. But down here, we have to work really hard. We are in what is called occultation. Everything is hidden from us. So what we're going to do, we need to find a way to go back. We need to find a way to go back. And this is something we're going to talk in the next class. We're going to talk about how our desires develop throughout time. Okay? How desires develop throughout time. We're going to touch here, base a little bit on what happened. So first, we have, as human beings, after we fail and everything, we have something called desires for food. It's kind of big, food, sex, and shelter. These are very animalistic, desires. We're animals, we're animals. We're souls inside, or clothed, souls clothed with animal skin. So that's one thing, right? Food, sex, and shelter. That's our first desire. And these are all egoistic desires, right? Next, our desire developed more, and we decided now, how can I make sure that I have enough food, that I can satisfy myself with sex, and to make sure I have shelter all the time? That's when we started accumulating wealth. Right? So now our desire is, we need wealth. We need to make sure, that we accumulate as much material wealth as possible. So I'm wealthy, I have everything. How do I make sure that I keep, let me put here, this is our second bigger desire. How do I make sure that I keep myself wealthy, that nobody else is gonna take over what I have worked hard for, That's easy. I use this wealth and I start having power. So I have power, I have wealth. That will secure my food, sex, and shelter, right? This is my third bigger desire. And Then I look, I go, I have power, I have wealth, I have everything. What else do I need in order to keep this power? I need to know how to administer all these things. Because if I'm careless, I will not be able, to keep, this power, wealth, and secure my food, sex, and shelter. So we start accumulating knowledge. So now knowledge becomes important, right? Now think about something, Think about in your life about these desires. All these desires manifest, themselves in our own personal lives as well. So what we have is the following. We have very primal desires, food, sex, and shelter. This is what our body needs, food to make sure that we keep ourselves alive, sex in order to be able to keep the species, going, and shelter just to make sure we're protecting ourselves from the climate, the environment, and also, from predators and all that. And wealth, we need wealth. Why? To make sure that we have enough material, to secure my food, to make sure that I have enough material in order to have the right shelter. But then power is like the politics. Power is the development of politics, and believe it or not, power also comes in if you have a job, the power of some people over other people is what's keeping some people wealthy, so they can secure these first primal desires. So you think about that. And then knowledge, accumulation of knowledge. Have you heard what some people say, if you go to school, you study, you will get a position. That position will make you wealthy. In that way, you will have a family, a house, everything that you want. That's exactly what's happening here. However, and we're gonna make sure we touch base on this, because this is gonna be the beginning of the next lesson, lesson number 3. However, once we have accumulated these 4 basic desires, something happened. It's a 5th desire. This desire is different. Hearing knowledge. I'll make sure you know that I write this. You will find science and religion 2 sides of the same coin. Alright? And then just to make sure you know that, this is politics, financial system, so you can have an idea of what is happening today. I have to expectation of nature. That way you have an idea of what we're talking about. When you look at this video again, you have a better idea. Okay, so now we find something different with this 5th desire. The 5th desire is basically unsatisfaction. We're not satisfied anymore. We are in a state of depression. We're in a state of I have all these desires. I have everything I wanted, all that. And now I'm not satisfied, you know? And it's very important to understand. We put here, non-satisfaction with anything else. All these things that have been accumulating knowledge, power, wealth, food, sex, and shelter, they're not anymore. So now what I find myself in a situation in which I hit the wall. I hit the wall. And when I say I hit the wall, I'm talking about all of us as humans. We have done all these things. And now we find ourselves right here. We hit the wall. We don't know where we're going to go. We don't know where we're going. So there's something that I'm going to touch. I'm going to touch in the next lesson. The only way to do this is by raising ourselves over that barrier and developing something called the point in the heart. And that's the beginning of spirituality. That's the beginning of our soul. That's the beginning of a seed that will grow. And we're going to learn that in our next lesson. So I hope you have enjoyed this lesson. Make sure you take notes of these basic concepts. I have basically no more time. And as I don't know if you heard in the background, there's thunder, so I might better, stop right here. And I'll see you in the next lesson. Thank you for joining me. And if you haven't, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also join our Facebook group. We're gonna be posting those, at the end of our videos to make sure that you also have some interactions with other members of the group and share some ideas. And when it comes to Kabbalah and spirituality, just make sure be nice. We have to make sure that we're nice and we're not arguing about religion or anything like that. Religion is out of the question. Like I said, I will mention religion, but you gotta make sure religion is one thing, Kabbalah is another thing, because Kabbalah talks about spirituality only. All right. So I'll see you in the next lesson. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you have enjoyed it. And see you later.